Imagine taking a trip with your best friend. You camp out by the sea, put some music on, drink a little, and just try to forget about life for a few days. And then, less than 24 hours later, one of you is found inside that same tent, covered in blood, while the other becomes the main suspect in her murder. On the afternoon of August 29, 2017, a few tourists were walking along a quiet beach near Tuapse when they noticed a ripped-up tent that looked completely trashed. Under the tarp, they could clearly see the outline of a body. When they pulled the fabric back, they found a young woman dead inside. Her head was covered in blood, and her body was full of cuts, scratches, and bruises. Later, police identified her as 19-year-old Anastasia Muzhenya from Pyatigorsk. Not long before all of this happened, Anastasia had moved to Moscow hoping to start over. She got a job at a strip club, but pretty quickly, she realized that life wasn't making her happy. She hated the job, she was emotionally exhausted, and she'd also just gone through a breakup. A lot of the time, she'd vent to her best friend, Elena Popova, about how miserable and lost she felt. At the time, Elena was at a big music festival in Krasnaya Polyana with a large group of friends. So she told Anastasia to come stay with her for a few days and get her mind off everything. Anastasia agreed. She had no idea that trip would end up being the last one she'd ever take. On August 22nd, Anastasia arrived in Sochi. She took a selfie at her hotel, met up with Elena, and the two girls eventually hitchhiked their way to a beach near the Orleanok camp by the village of Novomikhailovsky. But the beach was crowded, so they decided to move somewhere quieter. A rocky beach near a place called Tornado. That's where they set up their tent. What happened after that was never fully cleared up. But according to investigators, on the night of August 28th, the girls met two local guys named Dmitry Kazachenko and Elman Kurbanov. The men were passing by the beach in a boat when they spotted the girls. Later, one of them told police that both girls were topless when they first saw them, which is what made them approach and invite the girls to a nightclub owned by Dmitry's brother. The girls agreed, and the four of them spent the night together. As the night went on, everyone got more and more drunk. According to the case files, Anastasia and Elman ended up sleeping together that same night. But at some point during the night, things took a turn. The two friends suddenly got into a huge fight, most likely because both of them had feelings for Elman. Later, Elman told investigators that he always got the impression Elena had some kind of control over Anastasia and acted very possessive toward her. The girls eventually left the club, but the argument continued after they got back to the tent. According to Russia's investigative committee, Elena attacked her friend during a personal conflict and struck her in the head at least 3 times with a hard, unidentified object. After that, she allegedly left the beach. Security cameras from a nearby resort captured Elena walking away from the area at around 2:30 in the morning. Not long after, she got into a car with 3 strangers who agreed to drive her to the bus station. From there, she hitchhiked her way back to Pyatigorsk, where her mother lived. By around 10 a.m., Elena was already home. She told her mother she'd gotten into a fight with her friend, helped peel potatoes in the kitchen, and then went to sleep. Later, her mother said she didn't notice anything unusual about her behavior. But later that same day, around 4 p.m., Anastasia's body was discovered inside the tent. When police arrived at the beach, Elman Kurbanov and Dmitry Kazachenko were still there, giving statements about what had happened the night before. A few hours later, investigators searched Elena's house. Among her belongings, they found a pair of shorts with 2 small blood stains on them. Tests later confirmed the blood belonged to Anastasia. That quickly became the most important piece of evidence in the entire case. In September 2017, Elena was arrested, and the case exploded across Russian media. But as time went on, more and more contradictions started showing up. Elena's lawyer argued that the estimated time of death didn't match the timeline of when Elena was supposedly still at the beach. Even witnesses who saw Elena after she left the area said her clothes looked completely clean and that she wasn't acting suspicious at all. One of the guys who gave her a ride later said, "She was very calm. We didn't see any blood on her clothes." But that wasn't the only strange detail. According to the case files, the girls had eaten food and been drinking at a cafe earlier that night. But during the autopsy, investigators found Anastasia's stomach was completely empty. On top of that, there was no alcohol found in Anastasia's blood. Forensic experts explained that alcohol only breaks down in the body while a person is still alive. But according to witnesses, the girls had been drinking heavily just a few hours earlier, which meant that if Anastasia had really been killed that same night, there should still have been alcohol in her system. Investigators also noticed spots in Anastasia's eyes that usually appear several hours after death and can remain visible for up to 12 hours. Elena's lawyer argued that those marks suggested Anastasia died much later than investigators claimed. Even the lividity marks on her body reportedly didn't match the official timeline presented by prosecutors. And there was another strange detail. According to the case files, Anastasia had fought back hard before she died. Her body was covered in bruises, and blood had been sprayed across the walls of the tent. But Elena didn't have a single scratch on her body. One forensic expert even stated that with that amount of bleeding, the attacker should have been covered in blood from head to toe, not left with just 2 tiny drops on a pair of shorts. The defense also pointed out that both girls shared clothes, including those shorts. There were even photos showing both of them wearing them at different times. Still, investigators remained almost completely focused on Elena. Even though Elman's semen was found on Anastasia's body, he was treated only as a witness, never as a suspect. Police also found a makeshift shelter near the beach, and at first, investigators considered the possibility that some unknown person living there might have attacked Anastasia. But that theory was dropped pretty quickly. Later on, Elena's lawyer even claimed investigators had offered her a deal. If she confessed and said she killed Anastasia in an emotional outburst, she'd only get 2 years in prison. But Elena refused because she insisted she was innocent. On December 12th, the regional court in Tuapse sentenced Elena Popova to 8 years in prison. But the story didn't end there. In April 2019, almost 2 years after the murder, a man named Vladimir Cherkasov came forward and said, "I'm the one who killed Anastasia." Cherkasov turned out to be one of the passengers in the same car Elena got into after leaving the beach that night. He claimed that after hearing Elena talk about the fight with her friend, he later went back toward the beach on his own and found the tent. According to him, Nastia shined a flashlight directly into his face from inside the tent, and he thought she was filming him so she could later accuse him of assault. Cherkasov said he panicked, shook the tent, and when it collapsed, he hit Nastia with a rock. He claimed he never meant to kill her and didn't even realize she had died. Later, he also said he fled out of fear and spent some time hiding in Uruguay. But the strangest part was that despite this confession, almost nothing happened afterward. The case was never seriously reopened, and no major new investigation followed. And now, years after that night, a lot of people still aren't sure who actually killed Anastasia Muzhenya. Elena Popova continues to say she's innocent, and many believe the real killer may have never been punished at all.